welcome to the inaugural video of Classic Gaming. Today we have a classic from the 80s, Nintendo Entertainment System, also known as the NES or NES. The system was purchased with the flashing power light of death. Basically, you put in a cartridge, or even without a cartridge, push your power button and it'll just flash red. Nothing will happen on the screen, and you have no use of the system at that point. Typically, it is encountered with either a dirty or malfunctioning 72-pin connector, which looks like this within the system. This is actually a brand new one that was purchased off from Amazon for only a few dollars that can be used as a replacement. But basically what happens is your main motherboard connects in here, and your game cartridge will connect in here when you slide it into its slot. For this particular system, I'm pretty sure what's going on with it is that the pins on the top portion of the existing 72-pin connector, right here on the bottom row, have been pushed downwards, so they're not making a clean connection all the time. They do on occasion, but not every time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with a tool. We're going to actually bend each one of these up just ever so slightly to ensure better connectivity and move forward from there. Alright, well, to start off this build or restoration, we're going to need to go off and have a standard Phillips screwdriver. On these systems, on the back portion, you're going to notice that there's actually 6 ports for 6 different Phillips head screwdrivers that you're going to want to unscrew and remove in order to remove the top portion of the actual system itself in order to access into the components down. One just hanging here in the corner. Still does not want to let go. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and put all 6 screws off to the side, since we're going to need them later to reassemble. Next, we're going to want to go ahead and take off the cover or the shield. So within here, you're going to notice that you have 2 screws that typically are in the back, which this one is missing. You have 2 on the side, 2 on the corner, and then 1 in the middle here. That'll actually remove the shield itself. This just slides right out, so you can put that off to the side. And now you can actually see where your slide tray is for the cartridge and the mechanism that actually keeps it from going back up when you click it down. You've got the top portion view of your 72-pin connector, and then you also have the motherboard underneath. So in order to get this actually removed, there's about 6 screws, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and these 2 silver ones. They're not always silver, but they are actually longer than all the other screws, so you want to keep those out on the side to make sure you remember which ones are which. So once you have that out, the tray for the cartridge slides right out. You can take your remaining screws out. And you have your the actual motherboard and the rest of the components exposed. In order to remove this, we only have 2 more screws to go ahead and pull out back in the corner, as well as the corner here. Now we'll go ahead and remove those. Now, as you can see, I don't have a magnetic tip as far as my screwdriver is concerned, so you can go ahead and either use a finger or some small tweezers or pliers in order to pull the screws out. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use some solder resistant tweezers to pull them out. Alright, now so with the screws removed, we should be able to lift up the motherboard. You have another shield on the bottom that just slides right out. You just want to gently kind of maneuver it away from the cords. And you can see how the board and the circuits all work, including the expansion port, which as far as I was aware was never used by Nintendo, and then the back portion of the 72-pin connector. Now with that, it is a little tough, but you just have to force it out in order to go in and do the repair that we're doing on it. So we're going to go ahead and gently put this back on and slide it off to the side, since we're not going to need it for the moment. Now you may not be able to tell this directly on the camera, but there's some yellowing right here on the connectors, which indicate this is most likely going to be a original 72-pin connector that was being used from Nintendo. Generally, as long as none of the metal portions are broke or severed or attempted to be resoldered, they're pretty good as far as their resiliency, even being near 40 years old at this point. So what we can do, alright, one other thing you may or may not be able to quite notice, and I'll get a little pointer out to show it, is right here on some of these pins, you can kind of see some extra wear on them compared to some of the others. Like that one looks fairly good, but some of these others have some noticeable markings on them. So we're going to go ahead and try a couple of things, see if we can just gently scrape off some of that markings in order to rejuvenate that portion of the connection. The other thing you can do is, if you have some really fine sandpaper, probably over 500 grit, you can try and use that in order to go off and clean off the connection as well. But just a quick little rub seems to be doing decent so far. One other thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take a couple of Q-tips here. I have my nice little alcohol container. I'm going to put some 91% isopropyl alcohol into. We're going to use that to clean off some of the connections as well. You can also go in and boil up the 72-pin connector in a pot of water. Probably recommend some distilled water, so that way you don't have any minerals or other contaminants that could go in and cause it to rust or have other kinds of problems in there. You can see there is definitely some dirt showing up on the cleaning. You just want to go in and give it a nice rub down as far as it will allow us to go. Another thing that we can also go in and do is we can take a game cartridge. In this case, we'll do Zelda 2, Adventure of Link, and take another one of our Q-tips, wetting it up with alcohol pretty decent, and do that to both sides of the cartridge. And we can take it as if we were in the game system itself, and just insert and remove it several different times. And that should help us get some of the alcohol deeper into it than our cotton ball Q-tips will end up doing for us. I also recommend, after doing that on a system, to go in and also re-clean the cartridge itself, because it may have become dirty. So what I've done is just done a quick clean with the alcohol, taken another Q-tip, and then just drying it off and removing anything else that might possibly be in there. So now we'll put the cartridge away, since we're not going to need that for the moment. And it looks like we're doing a lot better. The ends seem a lot cleaner, not quite as yellow. So what we need to do now is we need to go in and take another tool, and we need to work on bending these connectors up just ever so slightly in order to reestablish the connection. Because after time, the way these were set up, you enter and remove the cartridge consistently, and then you have to push it up and down. That'll go in and cause these pins to form downwards, and will definitely cause the red flashing power of death to your system. So not only good cleaning, but just readjusting the pins very carefully will ensure proper connectivity and allow the gaming system to continue to work for many more ages to enjoy. Now, in addition, when this video goes live, I will actually be putting this up for eBay purchase. It is a good solid working unit, which I'll display within the video. I will be including 2 NES branded original controllers, as well as the Zelda 2 Legend or Adventure of Link video game. So you'll get the fully functional working system, power cord, RCA cables, 2 remote controls, all within that auction. I'll include a link to the auction on in the description below. Once the auction or purchase has been completed, I'll go ahead and remove that so there won't be any further confusion. But let's go ahead and get this reassembled and give it a try. So again, the first thing we're going to do is just gently bring it away from the actual shield on the bottom. I'm going to realign the connector. We're going to push it back in. And we'll realign the bottom heat shield, sorry. There we go. Next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to reposition the tray back onto it. Now with this particular side, if you over tighten it, you will notice that the tray itself won't click down. It'll just keep going like this for you. So when you're reassembling, check it, double check it, and then triple check it just to make sure you've got things into the right spot. So we'll go ahead and start screwing these back on into their respective spots. One of the other struggles about not having an actual magnetic tip screwdriver is not being able to align these easily when you're reassembling, so just be careful on those. And I'll just fast forward through this since you guys have already seen this before.